Hi guys, welcome back to True Crime After Dark. So we have another Chris Watts video for you today, and it's got some claims in it. It's got some claims that the Anadarko red truck was there at 2:47 a.m. the night of the murders, and some other claims as well. So let's get into the video, and you guys tell me what you think. Without further ado, let's get into it. Also, leave a like, and if you love these videos and you follow this case, definitely subscribe because we will be getting to the bottom of this case if it's the last thing I do. So, all right, let's get into it.
Something that never made it into the police report. A red truck pulling up to the Watts residence. This is 3 hours before Sean and even arrives home from her trip.
Now, would that red truck be Jim's truck? His Anadarko work truck?
Now, for 7 years, we've been told this was simple. One man, one terrible choice. Case closed. But what if I told you there's footage nobody wanted you to see? What if the person who had the most to lose in all of this never took a lie detector test? What if she knew exactly when to disappear? This is not the Chris Watts story you think you know. Because in 2025, the dots are finally connecting. And when they do, everything changes. Let me take you back to a moment everyone forgot about. Actually, let me take you back to the weekend before everything happened. Nate, the neighbor, he has a security camera. You probably already know about this camera because it's the one that caught Chris loading his truck on Monday morning. That footage went everywhere. Everyone saw it. But here's what nobody talks about. That same camera, it was recording all weekend. And at 2:47 a.m. on Monday morning, hours before Shanann's flight even landed, that camera catches something. A red truck. It pulls up to the Watts house, reddish in color, sitting across the street, just idling there in the dark. Now, the footage isn't crystal clear. It's grainy, it's distant, but it's there. Engine running. You can see the exhaust in the cool night air. Now, when this footage was reviewed, police looked at it. They made a note of it, and then they dismissed it. They said it was probably just someone turning around. Maybe someone lost. Maybe a delivery driver. Just a random vehicle. But was it? See that truck? It matches the description of a vehicle that was seen at another location. A location that's going to become very important to this story. A place called Survey 319. But we'll get to that. First, we need to talk about someone. Someone who had everything to lose when this case broke. Someone who did everything possible to hide. Her name was Nichol Kessinger. I say was because after this case, she literally disappeared off the face of the earth. Think about that for a second. When do people disappear? Let me tell you about Nichol. She worked at Anadarko. That's the oil company where Chris worked. She had a good job. Environmental department. Decent pay. Normal life. She met Chris at work. Summer of 2018. According to her story, she didn't know he was married at first. She said he told her he was separated. Going through a divorce. Almost done. You've heard that story before, right? They started seeing each other. Dating. Spending time together. Now here's where things get strange. Investigators looked at Nichol's phone. They looked at her search history. And they found something interesting. She searched for Sean and Watts before she claims she even knew Chris was married. Read that again. She searched for Shanann's name before their relationship officially.
Shanann, yes, she just said it properly. Can't stand when these AI voiceovers say her name wrong. It's so aggravating.
Started. How do you search for someone's wife if you don't know they have a wife? But that's not all she was searching for. She was looking up things like, and I'm going to keep this appropriate for everyone watching. She was searching for intimate topics. How to please a man in specific ways. Okay, that's personal. That's her business. But then she searched something else. Can police trace deleted text messages? Why would you search that? Why would someone who has nothing to hide be wondering if police can recover deleted messages? Let me tell you what happened after Sean and the girls went missing. Police interviewed Nichol multiple times. Hours and hours of interviews. You can find some of these interviews online. Audio recordings. You can listen to them yourself. And when you do, pay attention to something. Pay attention to her voice. She's answering questions, telling her story, going through the timeline. And then they ask her about someone named Jim. Jim Gatosski. Every single time his name comes up, her voice does something. Cracks. It shakes. She gets defensive. At one point, she literally says, "Leave Jim alone." Who is Jim? We'll get to that. But here's my question for you. If Jim has nothing to do with this, why is she protecting him? But here's the biggest thing. Nichol told police she talked to Chris on the phone the night before Sean and came home. They talked for over 2 hours. 2 hours. That's a long conversation. But when police asked to see her phone records, guess what? She had deleted them. All of them. She deleted the calls, the texts, everything from that time period. Now, she said she did this because she was getting death threats. People were harassing her. She wanted to erase her connection to Chris. Okay, I can understand that. But here's the thing. If you're innocent, if you have nothing to hide, why would you delete evidence? Police said she was cooperative. They said she answered all their questions. But cooperative people don't usually delete evidence, do they? And here's something that's going to blow your mind. Chris took a lie detector test. You know this. He failed it. Badly. But Nichol? She was never asked to take one. Think about that. The mistress. The other woman. The person who was with Chris right up until this happened. Never took a lie detector test. Why not?
We all know that she didn't take a lie detector test, and she should have. They really should have given her one also, or at least gave her the opportunity to take one, because then she would either have come out telling the truth and we would know, and nobody would be sitting here accusing her of anything right now, or she would have been caught up in her BS and along her merry way to jail with Chris. And I think that's what would have happened. But we also have to remember that she did call Jim that morning, right when her phone pinged in Chris Watt's neighborhood.
And Jim Gatosski, the guy she keeps protecting, never formally interviewed on record, never took a lie detector test. Why not? Now, there's a theory floating around online. People say Nichol went into witness protection, that she was given a new name, a new life, relocated somewhere far away. But here's the thing about witness protection. You can't just enter it because you were someone's mistress. You can't just get a new identity because people are mad at you online. You enter witness protection for one reason, because you're in danger, or because you know something dangerous. So which one is it? But before we go down that road, we need to talk about what happened at Serva 319, because that's where the bodies were found. And when you look at the details, nothing adds up. Here's what bothers me about that morning. Actually, let me back up. Let me tell you what Chris said happened. According to him, he did everything alone. By himself. No help. No planning. Just him. He said he acted in under 4 hours. Let me break down what that means. Bella, 4 years old. About 40 pounds. Cece, 3 years old. About 35 pounds. Shannon, pregnant. About 135 pounds. The location where he took them, Survey 319, is 45 minutes away from the house. So according to his story, in less than 4 hours, he had to do all of this. Take care of Shannon, take care of the girls, load all 3 of them into his truck, drive 45 minutes to the oil site, unload them, carry them to the location, climb up the oil tanks. These aren't small tanks. These are industrial tanks with ladders. And this is the part that really bothers me, he had to fit their bodies through the hatches on top of those tanks. Those hatches are 8 inches wide.
Also, we have to remember that carrying a dead weight body is a lot heavier than carrying someone that's alive and helping out a little bit carrying them. So I don't know. I don't think he acted alone. I really don't.
8 inches. He claims he pushed both girls through those hatches, into the oil tanks. Then he buried Sean and in a shallow spot nearby. Then he drove 45 minutes back home, cleaned everything, made the house look normal, and acted completely fine by morning when Shanann's friend showed up looking for her. Does that sound possible to you? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying really think about the logistics here. For hours. By himself. Now let me tell you about some things that don't add up. Remember that red truck I mentioned? The one on the security footage. Let me tell you what enhanced analysis shows. Frame by frame, you can see it clearly. 2:47 a.m. A red truck pulls into the Watts driveway. It sits there for 11 minutes. Then it leaves, heading east, the same direction as Survey 319. When police were asked about this, they said it was unrelated. Just a random truck. Nothing to worry about. Let's talk about the man nobody wants to talk about. Jim Gatosski. Who is he? According to Nichol, he's a friend. Maybe an ex-boyfriend. She's not clear about it. In her police interviews, Nichol mentions Jim a lot. A lot. She talks about calling him, texting him, getting his advice. And every single time investigators push about Jim, she shuts down. Leave Jim alone. He has nothing to do with this. Don't drag him into this. Why? If Jim truly has nothing to do with any of this, why is she so protective? Here's what we know about Jim. When this case broke, when the news went public, Jim got a lawyer. Immediately. Now, I'm not saying that's suspicious by itself. Lots of people get lawyers when they're connected to a case like this. But innocent people usually cooperate with police. They usually give statements, answer questions, help with the investigation. Jim did none of that. No formal interview was ever released. No polygraph test. Nothing on record. He just disappeared from the story. Doesn't that strike you as odd? Now let me tell you about the phone records. Remember how Nichol deleted everything from her phone? Well, police were able to recover some fragments. Digital forensics can sometimes pull back deleted data. And what they found was interesting. Multiple calls between Nichol and Jim in the week leading up to this. And here's the big one. August 13th, 1:48 a.m. A 43-minute call between Nichol and Jim. 43 minutes. This is hours before everything happened. Hours before Sean and even landed at the airport. When police asked Nichol about this, she said she was asleep. But the phone records say otherwise. So who's lying? The phone records or Nichol? Let me ask you something. What if Chris didn't do this alone? What if he had help? Think about the oil field knowledge required. Knowing which sites were active, which ones were remote, which ones didn't have cameras. Think about the physical impossibility of one person doing all of this in 4 hours. Think about the rushed cleanup, the mistakes, the things left behind. What if Jim helped? What if Nichol knew? What if this was planned? But something went wrong. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying, doesn't it make you wonder? People online are wondering too.
Yes, it makes everybody wonder. And it makes us wonder why she went into hiding. Because if you have nothing to hide, and all these people are making all these assumptions about you that aren't true, don't you think you would come out and set the record straight and not call and just pretend to be a cousin or something? I mean, if she's so worried about her reputation, then why isn't she coming out and saying that we're all wrong? She's not doing any of that. She's not even trying to get a book deal because she is scared to death if this case gets looked at any further, then she's going to get arrested, in my opinion.
Reddit threads about this case are full of questions about Jim. YouTube comments asking, why isn't anyone investigating Jim? TikTok users breaking down the timeline and saying things don't add up. The internet has questions, and those questions aren't being answered. Then Nichol Kessinger disappeared. She changed her name. Some people say she entered witness protection. Some people say she's living under a new identity somewhere far from Colorado. But here's my question. Why? What does she know? But before we answer that, we need to talk about something else. Because Chris has been writing letters from prison. And some of those letters don't match his confession. Chris Watts has been in prison since 2018. He's serving multiple life sentences. No chance of parole. He'll never get out. But he's been writing letters. letters to authors, letters to his mother, letters to people who reach out to him. And in some of these letters, he says things that don't match the story he told in court. There was a woman named Sherilyn Cadle. She's an author. She wrote to Chris, got him to open up. In those letters, Chris talks about what happened. And here's where it gets weird. In one letter, he uses the word they instead of I. Then he scratches it out. He talks about getting help with something.
He almost slipped up on his interview with detectives in 2019 too, when they asked him about why he pled guilty. He said, I didn't want anybody to get in, I didn't want to put anybody through any more than I already did. So he changed it up completely. But that's what he was about to say. You could tell.
Then doesn't explain what kind of help. Now, these could just be mistakes, slip-ups, bad writing, or they could mean something. He's never changed his public story. Every official statement matches his confession. But privately, in letters, different story. Then in 2019, something happens. Chris changes his story again. He sits down with investigators for another interview. This time, he tells them something new. He says Sean attacked the children. He says he walked in and saw her hurting them. And that's why he did what he did. He's trying to shift blame, make himself look less evil. But forensics prove that's impossible. The evidence doesn't match his new story at all. So why keep lying? Unless he's covering for someone. Some psychologists have analyzed Chris. They've looked at his behavior, his letters, his interviews, and they ask, is he protecting someone? Is he afraid of someone? Because people don't usually keep lying unless they have a reason. Here's something else. There were whispers after this case closed. Whispers from inside law enforcement. Some agents believed there was more to this case. Some people thought the investigation closed too quickly. Why? Was there political pressure? Was there something bigger happening?
Yes, there was an election year, and they just wanted to get this case done and over with. They wanted to arrest the suspect and get the case done and closed, so the district attorney's office looked good.
The case was closed. Chris confessed. Everyone moved on. But some people couldn't let it go. And that's when people started connecting dots to something much bigger. The oil company, Anadarko. Now let me tell you about Nichol's real job. She worked in environmental compliance. That means she had access to sites, records, violation reports. She knew which sites had problems, which ones were under investigation. What if she was given a job? Not officially, not in writing, but what if she was tasked with keeping Chris quiet, making sure he didn't talk about site violations? What if the affair was engineered? Think about it. Chris works at the sites. He sees things. He knows things. Nichol works in compliance. She's supposed to make sure everything is by the book. They meet. They start dating. She gains his trust. I know that sounds like a conspiracy theory. I know it sounds far-fetched, but stranger things have happened. Then Nichol disappears. 2019. Less than a year after the case ends. Rumors start spreading that she entered witness protection. Her name changes. Court records show a legal name change granted at unusual speed. She relocates. No one knows where. But here's the thing about witness protection. You can't just enter it because you had an affair with someone. You enter it for two reasons. One, you're in danger. Someone wants to hurt you. Two, you know something dangerous. Something people don't want getting out. So which one is it? What does Nichol know? Government documents about her case are sealed. You can't access them. Why? What's in those documents that needs to be hidden? So where is she now? And more importantly, what does she know? Because in 2025, something happened. Someone found her. And what they discovered changes everything. This is where it gets wild. You know how the internet works, right? Once people fixate on something, they don't let go. TikTok users, Reddit investigators, YouTube sleuths, they started piecing together clues, social media posts, public records, court documents, and they found a woman matching Nichol's description, living in a different state. Different name, different life, but same person. I'm not going to say which state. That's not fair to anyone involved. But people found her. And here's what's strange. She's watching this case. People report seeing her comment on true crime forums. Anonymous accounts. But the details she knows, only Nichol would know them.
You know, that makes me wonder if, because I'm only getting like 2 people that keep arguing that Nichol is innocent in my comments. So it makes me wonder if Nichol is one of them. Because I know she's seen a lot of YouTubers' videos about her. And I know Chris Watts has heard a lot from his mom, too. So, maybe.
Someone even reported receiving anonymous messages that said, "You don't know the whole story. Was it her? Or was it someone pretending to be her? We don't know." But it gets stranger. 2024. A user on Reddit makes a post. They claim to know who owned the red truck. The one on the security footage. They say it was a company vehicle.
That is the whole thing I want you guys to take out of here. There again, it shows that Jim's truck was there the night of the murders. And at 2:47 a.m., he said. So, what does that tell you? I mean, why in the world would that truck be there? Why would it have any reason to be there?
From Anadarko. According to this user, vehicle logs show that truck was checked out at 2:15 a.m. on August 13th and checked back in at 6:32 a.m., exactly the window when everything happened. The driver's name? Redacted from all reports. Blacked out. Why would a company vehicle's driver information be redacted from a case file? The user posted proof. Screenshots of documents. Timestamps. Then the post was deleted. The user's account was deleted. Everything gone. Why? Then something else happened. A true crime podcaster received an anonymous phone call. The woman on the phone sounded nervous. Scared. She said, "Jim knows what happened. Ask him about the truck." Then she hung up. The podcaster tried to trace the call. Couldn't. They tried to call back. Number was disconnected. Was it really Nichol? Or was someone playing games? We don't know. But it's strange. Isn't it? All these pieces. All these questions. And nobody in authority is talking about any of it. So after all of this, what really happened? Let me connect every dot for you. August 12th, 2018. Late night. Nichol and Jim are on the phone. 43 minutes. 1:48 a.m. What were they talking about? August 13th. 2:47 a.m. A red truck pulls up to the Watts house. Stays for 11 minutes. Leaves heading east towards Survey 319. Same morning. Chris says he did everything alone. But the timeline doesn't work. The physical logistics don't work. The evidence doesn't fully match his story. Days later, police interview Nichol. Her voice cracks every time they mention Jim. She deletes all her phone records. She never takes a lie detector test. Jim never takes a lie detector test. Jim's never formally interviewed. Months later, Chris changes his story. Multiple times. In letters, he uses words like they and help, then scratches them out. 2019. Nichol disappears. Name change. Relocation. Sealed documents. 2024. Anonymous tips start appearing. Company vehicle logs leaked then deleted. Phone calls to podcasters then disconnected. 2025. People online are still asking questions. Still connecting dots. Still demanding answers. So let me ask you directly. Was Chris the only guilty person? No, I don't think so. Was he the mastermind? Probably not. Just when you think...
Alright guys, so that is it for this video. What do you guys think? Okay, we got a little bit of more important information that some of you already knew, but some of you probably didn't. Why was the truck there? Why was Jim's work truck there? And was Nichol there? Was Nichol the one driving it? What do you guys think? Leave me some comments and let me know what you thought about this video. Pretty interesting, and we need to get a better timeline together. A definite timeline. So I take this with a grain of salt because it's not an actual, it's a voiceover. So, but I really do think that Nicole is watching our videos for sure. So, I don't know. She needs to come out and say something, or it's just going to keep on going on. Alright, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.